What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Michael Chandler fires back at the MMA community. While Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler may now finally have a date for their long-awaited fight, many members of the MMA community, including Arman Tsarukyan, have questioned whether Chandler made a mistake by sitting out so long. Throughout the lengthy saga, however, Chandler made it clear that he had certain assurances from the UFC that the bout would come to fruition, giving him confidence that, in the end, all of the delays would be worth it. In a recent Instagram Live, the former Bellator MMA champion fired back at the MMA community for the criticism.
Anybody in the sport of mixed martial arts, whether they are lying to you or not, or you think they're telling you the truth, they would have done exactly what I did. They would have done exactly what I did, and trust me, they're all enviable. Or sorry, they're all full of envy of my enviable position that I'm in right now. They can act like they're tough guys, and they would have fought 4 times in the time that I sat out. Come on. Everybody averages about 2 fights per year these days when you get into the top 5. So maybe I missed out on 1 or 2 fights, but none of them are even going to even hold a candle to what is about to happen June 29th. Eyeballs, platform, finances, everything.
As Chandler had previously explained, while this is the longest layoff of his professional career, it's given him time to not only rest up and also heal, but he's also enjoying time with his wife and kids. With the fight now finalized, a bout between the two is just over 9 weeks away, meaning that although it's taken quite a bit of time to get to this point, the MMA community will finally have a chance to see the pair throw down sooner rather than later. Next up, let's take a look at Justin Gaethje breaks silence on UFC career after loss. Following his loss to Charles Oliveira in 2022, there were questions about whether or not Justin Gaethje would ride off into the sunset, given his 2 losses in undisputed title fights. Despite that, Gaethje scheduled a nose surgery that summer while indicating his desire to make one more run at a UFC championship. When he returned to action the following year, he picked up a win over Rafael Fiziev, before then following it up with a highlight reel knockout of Dustin Poirier. In the wake of his recent UFC 300 loss to Max Holloway, there's been quite a bit of speculation regarding whether or not the highlight would walk away from the sport. In a recent video for his YouTube channel, Gaethje indicated that he has no plans to retire just yet.
I could let this break me, but if my skills weren't there, I definitely would have different questions. But I know for a fact that my skills are still there. I'm still able to perform like I always have been able to perform, and as long as I have that skill and that desire, then I see no reason to not fight again. You certainly don't know what the future holds, so you just gotta be in the present times.
It's important to note that although he isn't retiring, Gaethje had previously indicated that after being knocked out, he plans to take some time off to heal up before returning to action, meaning his highly anticipated return could still be at least 6 months away. Next up, let's take a look at Chito Vera and Petr Yan go back and forth. In the wake of their respective UFC 299 bouts, Chito Vera and Petr Yan have continued to go back and forth on social media. While Yan is expected to take some time to heal up after tearing his ACL against Song Yadong, when the former champ returns to action, a bout between he and Vera seems to be the next logical move for both fighters. In the meantime, the pair have continued to go back and forth on social media, with Vera indicating during a recent episode of the Keep Hammering Collective podcast that he wants to fight Yan in November at Madison Square Garden. Despite that, Vera also set the record straight, indicating that Yan had declined to fight him on 2 other occasions.
Perfect world, I want to fight November, Madison Square Garden, and I would like to fight Petr Yan. So I think that's a no-brainer for the fans, for the UFC, and right there you have a former champ against a title challenger.
Yeah.
The winner can sit right there waiting for the title shot. So
right.
It's a fight that we will fight her off because this is a big one. There's a lot of stake. And he said he wanted to.
Did he?
He declined before because we saw each other at my last fight because he fought 2. And it's like, hey, I want you next.
Yeah.
And I say, what are you talking about? You declined twice.
Yan then fired back on social media, writing, "Let's be honest, if we had fought earlier, you would never have made it to the title fight. Everything has its time, and the time for your whooping is coming soon." Vera then responded, writing, "Shut the f*** up, just show up." The former champ then fired back one more scathing shot, writing, "Keep lying to yourself that someone can refuse to fight a walking punching bag. Hashtag easy money." Given that Yan is still healing up from ACL surgery, there's been no word as to when he'll return to action, despite the fact that a bout between he and Vera seems to be next up for both fighters. Considering the previous timeline outlined by Yan, however, a bout between the two at Madison Square Garden in November could line up perfectly. Next, let's take a look at UFC Fight Updates. Ahead of this weekend's UFC Fight Night Nicolau vs. Perez card, let's take a look at some UFC Fight Updates, starting with an announcement from UFC CEO Dana White indicating that Joaquin Buckley will get his wish for a bout at UFC Fight Night St. Louis on May 11th. The news comes on the heels of Buckley requesting a fight during the UFC 300 press conference, with the UFC booking him for a fight with Nursultan Ruziboev. White broke the news on social media, indicating that the bout would serve as the co-main event on the card.
What's up, guys? Fight announcement for you. Number 11th ranked welterweight Joaquin Buckley will now take on Nursultan Ruziboev as the co-main event for St. Louis on May 11th from the Enterprise Center. Since he returned to the welterweight division, Buckley is on a 3-fight win streak. 2 weeks ago, he finished Vicente Luque in the second round of their fight in Atlantic City, which broke him into the top 15. Buckley's been showing up everywhere and doing everything, including jumping on the mic at UFC 300 press conference, asking me to get him a fight against anyone so he could fight in his hometown of St. Louis. And as I've said many times, I love guys that are hungry, willing to fight anybody, and asking for fights.
The following month, reports have indicated that Tim Elliott has been forced off the UFC Vegas 92 card and will no longer be fighting Tatsuro Taira. As a result, the UFC has booked a fight between Taira and Joshua Van for UFC 302 on June 1st, after Sumadarji withdrew from his scheduled UFC 302 fight with Van. The new booking will see Van look to build on a 3-fight win streak, while Taira looks to keep his unbeaten record intact while advancing to 16-0. The following week, at UFC Fight Night Louisville, former title challenger Dominic Reyes will take on Justin Jacoby in a light heavyweight bout that will see Reyes look to make a successful return to action and snap a 4-fight skid after battling blood clots. And on the flip side, Jacoby will be looking to bounce back from a UFC 296 loss to Alonzo Menefield. Last but certainly not least, reports have indicated that Nathaniel Wood and Daniel Pineda will face off at UFC 304 on July 27th, with Wood eager to bounce back from an October loss to Muhammad Naimov, while Pineda will look to bounce back from a June loss to Alex Caceres a year ago. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Kamaru Usman reacts to Sean O'Malley call-out. As bantamweight champion Sugar Sean O'Malley recently indicated, the UFC has made it clear to him that with a couple more wins, they would be willing to let him box Ryan Garcia. Although the champ seems to be excited about the news, former pound-for-pound kingpin Kamaru Usman isn't sold on the potential fight. While speaking in a recent episode of he and Henry Cejudo's Pound for Pound podcast, the former champ opened up on the situation.
Why are we even entertaining this right now? Sean O'Malley has a whole, like literally one of the deepest division to get through. You have one of the deepest divisions of contenders waiting for you. Why are we entertaining you going here and there and there to fight this guy? How about we beat up a couple of guys in my division first and cement myself as a great in my division? Cement myself first before I'm even entertaining these gimmick fights.
As Usman referenced, in addition to a fight with Merab Dvalishvili later this year, O'Malley reigns over one of the deepest divisions in the UFC. On top of the machine, Corey Sandhagen is also eager to punch his ticket to a title shot, with Umar Nurmagomedov also looking to fight his way into title contention. At the same time, former flyweight kingpin Davison Figueiredo is looking to continue his recent run at 135, with Song Yadong also hoping to work his way into contention in the future. Given that, and a potential clash with featherweight champion Ilia Topuria down the line, the MMA community may not be sold on an O'Malley-Garcia bout. Next, let's take a look at Jamahal Hill talks about Khalil Rountree fight. After being knocked out by light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira in the main event of UFC 300, former champion Jamahal Hill wasted little time before booking his next fight, agreeing to compete against Khalil Rountree at UFC 303 in June. Of course, given a quick turnaround following a knockout loss, many have questioned whether Sweet Dreams is making a mistake by returning to action so soon, rather than letting himself heal up. In a recent interview with The Schmo, the former champ opened up on the situation.
Put on the performance I need to against Khalil Rountree to put myself back in position to get that Alex Pereira fight back. It was pretty much 2 days. Monday, I got on the phone, told them I wanted to fight, and they started trying to get together, make it happen. I think they have their war room meeting like Monday or Tuesday. By Tuesday, I was already signing the contract. It was not so much, honestly, for me now, it's not even about the gold strap. It's about getting back to that fight. I want to fight with Alex again, just because of the narrative surrounding it and everything.
As Hill also indicated, rather than entering into camp for his next fight after a layoff, The short turnaround will allow him to enter training camp in shape. Of course, with Khalil Rountree on an impressive 5-fight win streak that has seen him finish all but one opponent, the bout seems poised to deliver fireworks when the two meet at UFC 303. Next, let's take a look at Alex Pereira sends a message to Charles Oliveira. Although UFC 300 was a massive night for Alex Pereira, the event saw fellow Brazilian superstar Charles Oliveira drop a decision loss to Arman Tsarukyan. While Oliveira indicated in the wake of the loss that he's undeterred from his ultimate goal of reclaiming the lightweight title, the reality of the situation is that Arman Tsarukyan is now next in line to compete against the winner of the upcoming Makhachev vs Poirier fight. During a recent Portuguese-speaking interview with La Cheviana, Pereira sent some words of support to Du Bronx, while weighing in on what the future holds for the former champ. "I've been through this. Charles has to see if he made a mistake. Sometimes we lose, but not because we made a mistake in preparation. He has to see if there will be changes or do something different. Nobody knows what he's going through outside the world of fighting too. The important thing is for him to know if there is something to correct and try to fix it somehow." In the wake of the loss, Oliveira indicated in a video for social media that he's feeling fine and is eager to bounce back. While speaking about his preparations for the fight, Oliveira indicated that both his training camp and his weight cut went well, and he wants to return to action soon. There's been no word on when the former champ will return to action. The hope among fans seems to be that the UFC books him another fight before the end of the year. Joe Rogan reacts to UFC controversy. Following the UFC 300 fight with Jamahal Hill and Alex Pereira, Chael Sonnen and Daniel Cormier called out referee Mark Goddard for not allowing Jamahal to reset fully before engaging in combat again, after he accidentally threw a low groin kick that hit Alex. This resulted in Jamahal being knocked out by Alex Pereira less than 5 seconds after the timeout. Here's what Joe Rogan had to say about the situation.
Jamahal accidentally hits him low. He kicks him in the hip. And Herb Dean comes in to stop it. In the meantime, Jamahal has stopped and relaxed after he threw the kick. He gives him a thumbs up, like, "You cool?" And then Pereira does it, and then Pereira advances. And then Herb is to the left. Yeah. So it's like he can't even move too much to the left. And all of a sudden, he's on him, and he hits him with that left hook. Yeah. And I think Jamal's saying, I would have never let him that close to me if it wasn't for that nut shot, and I didn't know exactly what was going on. So he doesn't stop when Herb stops him. He closes, when he puts Herb on, he closes the gap.
He closes the distance and then told her to stop. Yeah.
While Jamal's legs are straight. So Jamahal gives him the thumbs up, and Pereira had a double hop.
Yeah. And Jamahal didn't know.
Yeah, this is a real moment. Now, I'm not making any excuses for Jamahal. He's got a point here. It's not a perfect point because they had engaged again.
I know what you mean.
Pereira had closed that gap to a point where Jamahal was not letting him do that early. There's definitely an argument that if you're going to do that and you're going to stop a fight momentarily, even if you're going to restart it, you have to understand that the momentum has stopped. Things have changed. And if one guy does this and hops in during that time, you kind of have to step and separate them and then engage. So he does engage, he goes off to the side.
Top comments. Anthony needs to stop. He's not good enough to beat anyone in the top 15 anymore. Anthony Smith being delusional as usual, shaking my head. Bilal is writing an erotic novel over Leon, LMFAO. What's that? Anthony on a streak? Dude is a joke.